Subscribe to us on YouTube for weekly videos on cosplay fandoms, interview tips on how to build your cosplay brand, and of course, always a safe space for you to share your stories and what motivates you to stay active within the community and contribute to our cause to bring cosplayers together in this space. And now visit us at our website, www.heroesofcosplaysanctuary.com, for swag merch and all the latest on the show. Joining me today for what we hope will be a great conversation on collaborations is the sharing, caring cosplayer herself, co-host Astra Cosplay. Hi, Astra.
Hello, Scotty. How are you?
I'm doing okay. So how do you like season 3?
Season 3 is fantastic.
Well, I hope so. I really want to go in some different directions, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun with the guests that we have lined up and just some of the content ideas that we have coming out this season. I hope you will agree, and I cannot wait to see also what you will be doing this season. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's definitely going to be an interesting season. I have a lot lined up, a lot of grand ideas that I hope I can execute properly. So yeah, we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, really liked your Scarlet Witch that came out a little while ago. I thought those were really well done, and just it's nice to see things coming together. It's really just great to see all the things that you're working on in your new and improved crafting space that you have. And yeah, so today's topic is how to approach collaborators and how to collaborate with cosplayers, different looks at platforms, practices, and really just some advice for how to work with people in the community. And would you say that collaboration is really something that is synonymous with cosplay?
My famous answer on the show, it depends. I've been approached by other cosplayers, I've been approached by photographers, I've been approached by, organizations and companies and stuff like that. And the difficult thing is this a collaboration for fun or am I getting paid? And that's, I think, a fine line that people don't really want to ask or tread, but it becomes kind of important. I get approached, I can't even tell you the amount of times that I get approached from who knows what, and they always ask me, oh, would you be interested in doing this great, awesome opportunity thing? And they make it sound great, and they talk it up, and I'm like, yeah, of course. And then they ask, cool, can you drive 2 hours tomorrow as Gamora at 6 in the morning? And I'm like, are you paying me? And they're like, no. And I'm like, goodbye. So I think balancing expectation and reality is a big thing when it comes to collaboration, especially if you're looking for, if you're just another cosplayer or photographer, that's one thing. But if you're someone who is like, oh, we want you for our thing, and then you don't provide and you ask for the hardest, most time-consuming thing, don't be surprised when you get told no. I've had to learn how to say no.
Yeah, and really it's okay to say no. Like, I think a lot of people, especially when they start to see a lot of attention, when they go to cons or just online, people sliding into their DMs, the response is to like try and say yes to everything. And really it should be the opposite, where you really have to be choosy because you're just one person and you can't please everybody anyways. Like, trying to be a people pleaser is going to get you into some awkward situations. Well, I collaborate with you. So
I love collaborating with you. You're my favorite person to collaborate with, Scotty.
I have rules about keeping things professional on the show and like how to best utilize people's time. As we don't talk for hours and hours on end every single day about stuff that we're doing on the show. It's fairly concise, I guess. That's just part of the way that I like to do things. It's all about your time, and then I try and accommodate as best as possible. I do it with guests too. Just be professional. And if you are going to ask people to do things, make sure that you have like a plan around that, and that they ask it's bigger for you than it is for them, I guess, is one way that I would put it. I don't like to put onto people more than I'm doing myself. I think that's, especially when things aren't paid. It's not, if it's not a job, expecting people, like you said, to drive hundreds of miles or 2 hours out of their way to be a part of something. and then, buy lunch on their own is a lot to ask.
I have a hard time with being too nice, and I have a hard time getting taken advantage of. And unfortunately, that happens a lot in this sort of community. Um, people will look at me when I say no to certain things and they'll think I'm a stuck up, you know what. But at the end of the day, you really have to be able to manage your time and your worth and know how much you are worth, and
Mm-hmm.
I've had it happen where people ask me to work an event and they're like, can you do Gamora? Can you show up at 10 a.m. at this place, which is over an hour away from me normally, but then with traffic, because I'm near DC and Richmond, I'm in the middle.
Yeah,
So
that's a lot.
it's a lot longer than you think. And, Gamora takes anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. And so now you're looking at me getting up at like 4 in the morning. And, it's like I'll say no, and then they turn around and go, oh, but it's for charity. And it's like, well, that's great. And I'm all for that. That's why I'm a big part of live streams. But you also have to keep in mind, I can't do that all the time. It's unrealistic. It's so much money that I'm putting out that I don't have to put out. And at that point, if I do want to do charity work, which I do, it would be more beneficial for me to get ready and do a live stream where I'll raise more money than I would make or raise driving there and doing the whole thing. It's a matter of materials and time, and it's a lot when it comes to stuff like that. On the other hand, you have, collaborations that you want to do where it's like for fun and it's just you and your friend in cosplay and you guys are doing shoots, and those are like the fun things. And I think a lot of times, people will hype up a project or they'll hype up a thing that they really want to do, and then you get into it and it's not what you thought, and now you can't really get out of it. So it's definitely my best advice to anyone is to ask questions. Ask as many questions as you want, because once you're in it, it's going to be a little tough to get out of it without kind of seeming like a what. And at the same sense, don't ever feel like you have to do anything either. If you get into a situation you want to back out, back out if it's for your best interest. If you don't feel safe or if you don't feel comfortable, for sure do that. But ahead of time, never be afraid to ask questions, and never be afraid to word things like, oh, is this a paid opportunity, or is this never feel bad for asking that question, because people will take advantage of you for sure.
They definitely will. I do have a few rules that I will list, and if I get clever enough, I can have them appear next to me. We'll see how that works. Pick somebody about your same size if you're doing collaborations. And now I use that rule fairly loosely. Don't get pushy with people. Establish a relationship with them before sliding into DMs and making those conversations seem more like demands of people. Keep things simple, write things down and plan. If you're going to go and talk to somebody about something, make sure it's relatively well thought out idea before just reaching out very excited to a bunch of people that you barely know and saying, I want to do this thing. Because if you don't have any details, it's going to get a little bit weird. Know the boundaries of what is acceptable and appropriate, kind of like what you were saying, and know the differences between the individual and the company. So who you're working with. Are you being asked by a company, by a corporation that is collaborating with you? Or are you being asked by an influencer or somebody online who just wants to do something fun? Very different conversations there. So not to spend a ton of time on this list of rules that I think you should know about or at least consider when you are trying to collaborate with somebody, but going back to the first one, picking somebody, a lot of people get into this space where followers are currency. And if you don't have as much currency as they do, they may not want to collaborate with you. I don't know if I always like that, because to me, it's really the fit. Is what I'm doing aligned with what you're doing? And can we help each other out? I like to approach it as a professional for what I do, regardless of my size and how fast anything grows on my channels. That I want people to have the experience of working with somebody who acts like they have a bigger channel, if that makes sense. Rather than just saying, well, I have 60,000 followers, you have 60,000 followers, so we're an internet match. That I don't know if it's always the best if it's always the best approach. I don't know if you have any strong feelings about that.
Usually have a rule where if I can't drop them, I don't go. Meaning if I can't, knock them out and get away in time, or if I don't feel like I have that ability, if it comes down to it, I usually don't go alone at the very least.
Oh, so you're literally the same size as you.
I am quite literal. It's usually that rule or the same sex rule, like, right, like don't go along with a guy that you don't know, right, or
Yes,
vice
I
versa.
was in martial arts. I used to say, you have to bring like if you're going to be in a space with an instructor, you have to have like someone with you.
But I'm definitely cautious when I'm meeting some person that I don't know, that I might not trust. And another thing, just on kind of a same scale, definitely be aware of not necessarily scams, but things that are kind of shielded in this rose colored glass that aren't what they are. What I mean by that is, I've been invited to shoots by friends, and I get there and we do stuff and it's great and it's a wonderful time. And then later, I'm asking for the pictures and I don't get them. I've had photographers that I don't get pictures back from. I've had
None.
shoots. Yeah, I've had shoots that I'll never see the light of day from. Um, so there are photographers that I don't work with anymore, that I don't talk to. I try to keep it brief, and whether it be malicious or just whatever,
Mm-hmm.
I can't waste my time. I I don't have the time to get ready and do that and then go and waste my time and not have the product that I need. Um, so a lot of times I'll do my own shoots. I have my mom do my shoots. She has the camera. It's just easier. And it's very rare that I agree to do shoots outside of my comfort zone in that regard. The one that I just did with Scarlet Witch with that guy, it was a photographer. Very rare thing for me. I don't normally do that. I only did it because I kind of knew him. I believe I met him at GalaxyCon or Richmond, one of the two, before. So I kind of knew him. But yeah, no, I very rarely ever will do that. So be careful when, people are throwing these things at you, like, oh, do you want to do a shoot with me? Make sure you secure the package ahead of time. Am I getting these pictures? How many am I getting? What am I getting? Because that person can have their product, but he, she, they, whoever can have their product, but you still need to make sure that you have yours and make sure that you get what you're doing at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my biggest advice, is always go with someone if you can, and if you can't, make sure you're protected and safe. Make sure people know where you are, where you're going, who you're meeting with, and make sure you don't get screwed over, I guess.
And you do have to remember, it is your time. So if someone is taking and you're the only one giving, like, that's not a very good relationship. It's not something that I would say would be good to just pursue. Whatever political interest you might have in that particular influencer or whatever might be going on, you know, if you have someone who represents you, if they have someone who represents them, there's a lot of layers and just things that we can't really discuss in a 10-minute episode. It's just too many things.
Right.
But you really do have to be sure to protect yourself with anything that you're getting involved with. Make sure that you ask questions. Of course, you don't have to come out swinging.
Yeah.
Your personal protection is your own choice, of course, but being humble about those opportunities that you do say yes to, and make sure that you bring value to what you're doing. Companies are a bit of a different issue. I guess you do want to be just as choosy with a company that you're working with as you do with a person, because even though it's probably going to feel a little bit more professional, there's plenty of companies that don't act that way, and you can get into a lot of like weird issues if you don't have everything like written down. Like if you don't know all of the details, you just show up, that could go either way.
For sure. And you also have to keep in mind, people have different ideas of definitions and different ideas of boundaries. So especially for photo shoots ahead of time, make sure that you establish those. I've had people that I've shot with before, or people that wanted to shoot with me, and they're like, oh, well, you were in theater, you know, this is just a stage kiss, or this is just this, and, you know, let's do this couple costume together. And I'm like, you're right, I was in theater. And normally, if I were single, I'd be like, okay, whatever, it's a stage kiss, it doesn't matter. That's fine, especially if I'm comfortable with you. But if I'm not, that's a different story. But I digress. You know, I've had to tell a lot of people, you know, I'm not comfortable doing anything even remotely romantic because I am in a relationship. And you have people who have different definitions of what a relationship is, which I know sounds weird and crazy, but you have some people who, you know, are very open and they think it's not a big deal. And then you have people like me who are like, no, I'm more private with that. So you definitely, everyone's different, and it's all about respect and mutual respect. And so a big thing that I would stress that I wish I knew going into a lot of shoots was boundaries. What are your definitions of that? What does that look like for you and for that other person? You know, like, and if you are in a relationship, make sure you communicate with your significant other, like, hey, I have this opportunity, are you comfortable with this, you know, is this okay? Because believe it or not, it can cause problems. I've been fortunate enough that it hasn't, but I do know people and friends who have lost relationships over stuff like that because, you know, it comes out later. I don't know, you know, oh, you're standing together and he touched your waist, you know, like whatever. So big thing, like I said, protect yourself, but also protect the people around you. Make sure that, you know, what you're doing is communicated ahead of time, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. And just make sure that there are no surprises when you get there. Because I've had situations too where I get there and it's definitely different than what was advertised. So
Don't be afraid to raise your hand if you do get to something like that and things are very different than what they've been explained to you to be. And don't feel bad about walking away from something that you're not comfortable with. I mean, it's not all about playing nice, especially if you get uncomfortable. And I think there have been enough instances and enough examples that have been shared online of people getting into uncomfortable situations that they later regret. They later feel like this was a bad idea. This was not something I should have agreed with. This, why did I go down this road when it was awkward and uncomfortable and it really wasn't anything that I was passionate about inside of cosplay. Like it ended up being something completely different. So that, you know, really just asking the questions. Are you a fit? Is it a fit for your audience? And is it really something that in 10 years you're going to look back on and say, you know, this was something that I put my best effort into and so did the people that I was working with?
So just make sure that you're comfortable. That's the biggest thing. And you know what? Don't let anyone pressure you into anything either. And if they're gonna start up the whole, oh, you're, you know what, you know, because you do raise your hand, then so be it. I would rather people hate me for that than me go along with it and then get hurt. That's just me personally. But for sure, everything that Scotty said, 100% is golden.
Yes, and the last thing that I have to say is make sure you hit the like button below and subscribe to our channel and hit the notifications. And of course, the other fun stuff Astrovoid will tell us about. Would you mind taking us out of the show, Astra?
Absolutely. All of our information will be down below. If you're on YouTube in the subscription box area, you'll see it. You know the drill. All of our Instagrams and our link trees and our TikToks and all the fun little socials will be there for you. So thank you all so much for watching and for listening. And I hope that you guys will tune in next time. Thank you, Scotty. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And I hope you guys have a great day. Goodbye.